What I wanted to talk about in this short intro of mine today was already mentioned before in one of my previous videos, and after thinking long and hard, I think I've managed to scramble enough material to add on top of it and make it sound at least semi comprehensible. I would really like to avoid some things in these talks. Specifically, I would like to avoid stating things as facts regardless of the topic. And even if I think that I know a lot about that, I still need to constantly remind myself that no matter the argument, there is someone out there on the internet who knows way more than me and can thus quite easily put me in my place. Because even though I do enjoy quite a wide variety of media and I've had a lot of time to read and watch, I am not someone who would analyze the thinking of the author or try and dive deeper underneath the surface. I do obviously form my own thoughts. I think I am capable of creating my own opinion, but that also carries with it the fact that I am not someone who should be participating in any sort of hardcore fan discussions because that's just simply not the way I approach art or entertainment, and I would like to keep it that way. Also, when talking about media, be it games, music, books, movies, TV shows, I really just want to talk about things that I personally like, not to convince someone else to do the same, or on the other hand, convince someone to stop liking what I find uncomfortable or what makes me unhappy. That's really the last thing I want to achieve with these videos or just recordings. I should call them what they are. I would like to be able to just say things instead of stating something as my opinion and maybe even take sides in some sort of a dispute. Here I am most probably contradicting myself already. It's quite likely that I have broke these rules that I've set for myself in the previous videos without me even realizing that. And it would be funny to go through all of them at some point and try to point out for myself, not in a video, but try and find all the instances of me stepping over these boundaries and violating my own rules. I might actually do that in the future. So, yes, I am well aware that this is probably an impossible task for me, an objective that I just might not be able to always stick to, but I would really like to at least make the attempt purely for myself, not some kind of controversy or staying within the YouTube rules, but at the end of the day, I just want to improve my English and move away, at least for the duration of the recording, from everything negative that I feel towards pretty much everything in the current entertainment industry and even outside of it. I can tell that it to some extent affects me, even though I would love to think that I'm above these interferences from the outside, but I'm just some random guy, and thus that's just my wishful thinking. I would like to approach the things that I will talk about here from a point of view that I like them, maybe mention the exact things that I like exceptionally, that I really enjoy and that make me really just purely happy, rather than say things like, this is the greatest piece of something in the world, because that would be what I wanted to avoid, stating my opinion. I just want to say, hey, I like it makes me happy, instead of trying to prove and analyze what's so great about it. I just want to say that it's something that makes me happy, which is the case for my very first topic, which was Neverwinter Nights. It's not exactly critically acclaimed for its great story and characters. The main selling point of the game was the tool set, and yet for me it was just something that I really, really enjoyed during my childhood, and it somehow stuck with me even through my adulthood. And I would love to be able to continue doing so in the future, because even though it might seem as a small insignificant difference between saying that I like the thing or that I think it's the greatest thing, but to me that difference feels quite important, and I would love to stick to this for the future projects that I've already picked quite a few that I would really like to talk about, and will try to police myself properly and stay within the limits that I have set for myself. Now, this was quite long, longer than may be necessary, but I really wanted to mention at least a few of these things, and then it's quite snowballed. So it's time to finish the 12 tasks for Asterix. We left our heroes, finished eating their last task, and now they are able to see signs of what is to come for them. Their next task is to obtain a permit from this building. That's just one giant poke at bureaucracy from a house that makes everyone that enters it insane to various degrees. At first, they struggle quite a lot, and poor Obelix is almost drove insane because of all the different permits that they need to obtain before they are finally allowed to get the one that they need, accompanied by the constant need to run up and down endless flights of stairs. This turns out to be almost too much for him, but fortunately Asterix engages his famous wit, and by asking for a non-existent permit, he is able to turn the tables on the merciless group of employees and finally receive what they came here to retrieve. Their next task is to cross a chasm on an invisible tightrope that crosses a river full of crocodiles. They do attempt to finish the task properly, but eventually they are forced to go down there and at first teach the crocodiles how to fly and even grab the tightrope. So in the end, the whole rope is just covered by crocodiles in various positions, and Asterix and Obelix are able to cross the chasm safely. And their next task is to climb a mountain and then answer an old man's riddle. This one again is poking fun at something, this time at washing detergent advertisements, and the riddle is to discern while blindfolded which pile of laundry was washed with Olympus, the detergent of the gods. Asterix completes this task quite easily, immediately recognizing that the pile that is softer and silkier was in fact washed by Olympus. This feat actually impresses the gods on Olympus so much that one of them even suggests that the gods are actually awarded godhood and allowed on Olympus, which in turn angers Jupiter, who in anger sends a bolt of lightning down after admonishing Bacchus, who is the god of drunks, and is performing what is expected of him on Olympus, being drunk and eating. Meanwhile, Asterix and Obelix meet with their referee, and their next task is to spend the night on the plains of the Haunted, an old battlefield where the restless ghosts of Roman soldiers still perform their maneuvers and are there to scare to death anyone foolishly sleeping there. Obviously, Obelix, who wakes up when their maneuvers start, is overjoyed that there are Romans that he can beat up, but unfortunately, against ghosts, his superhuman strength is useless, and he almost completely exhausts himself until it also wakes up Asterix, who then complains with a rather sharp tongue until his admonishing forces the ghosts to retreat. And now it's time for their last task, which they are joined in with the rest of the Gauls from the village who came to Rome as a group of ill-mannered tourists, and that is to survive the famous Rome's Colosseum. Their first opponents are the gladiators, who give Caesar, before they begin their fight, the famous greeting Moriturite salutan. Those who are about to die salute you, just to get promptly beaten by the Gauls, powered up by the druid's potion. There is even a runaway chicken that got itself into this mess somehow, that gets scared into laying an entire column of eggs by the brutish Gauls and their poor victims, the gladiators. Then comes the horde of animals that are supposed to prey on the poor humans, be it the gladiators or prisoners sent to the Colosseum to please the audience. Unfortunately for Caesar, the Gauls are quite unimpressed and turn the entire supposedly horrifying show into a modern day circus with dancing animals, Obelix balancing an entire tower of elephants on his hands, various juggling events, dancing bear, and even a procession of already mentioned elephants. This leaves the trainer, who spent his entire life making the into bloodthirsty monsters, in tears, and Caesar in awe and misery, and that makes him finally admit that the Gauls indeed are gods, and that his fight against them is meaningless, and he throws his laurel wreath on top of Majestic's head and retires with Cleopatra to a little house in the countryside. The Gauls go back to their village, that is now the center of the Roman Empire, have their usual banquet with the bard promptly tied up and gagged so that he can't ruin the atmosphere. And when Obelix asks if they really conquered Rome, Asterix says that it's just a comic and everything is possible, which Obelix takes literally and promptly teleports himself to the island of pleasure with his favorite baked wild boar. And that's it. The end of easily one of my favorite animated movies I've ever seen. In my childhood, I do remember watching this on VHS many, many times over. And even now, as an adult, I can still get into it. I can still easily understand myself enjoying this movie so much. Next time, I am going to take care of Asterix and Cleopatra, the live action adaptation, and that's about it for today.